Have you ever watched the ocean's waves go in and out? The water moves back and forth, sometimes rising high, sometimes low. But did you know that the tide is different at every beach? Some places barely change, while others have huge waves. At some beaches, the water barely moves, just a tiny rise and fall. But in Canada's Bay of Fundy, something amazing happens. The ocean moves up and down by 21 meters, as high as a 6-story building. Why do tides change so much in some places, but not others? Let's dive into this mystery. What makes tides change so much? The answer is hidden in space, deep in the pull of gravity. Get ready! We're about to explore the forces that shape the ocean's rise and fall. Tides happen because of something powerful, the moon. The Earth pulls on the moon, but the moon pulls back too. This invisible force is called gravity, and it tugs on the ocean, making the water rise up. As the moon pulls, the ocean stretches toward it. This creates what we call high tide. But that's not all. Something strange happens on the other side of the Earth. The water bulges there too. Why does the ocean rise on the other side? It's because of inertia, the force that makes things keep moving. The Earth spins fast, and the ocean water is trying to pull away, just like when you spin a bucket of water and it doesn't fall out. As the Earth spins, these ocean bulges move around the planet. That's why tides rise and fall every day. But if the moon pulls on all the water, shouldn't tides be the same everywhere? Here's where things get interesting. If Earth were just one big ocean, tides would be the same everywhere. But our planet has continents, and they change everything. Because of land, tides don't move in perfect circles. Instead, they twist and turn around continents, making tides stronger in some places and weaker in others. Let's see how this works. If the moon pulls the ocean evenly, why aren't tides the same everywhere? The answer is simple: land. Continents block and redirect the water, stopping it from moving freely around the Earth. Imagine you splash water in a bathtub. If nothing is in the way, the waves spread evenly. But if you put your hands in, the water bounces around and changes direction. That's what continents do to the ocean. Instead of moving in perfect circles, tides swirl and twist around continents. In some places, water gets stuck in small spaces, making tides much bigger than normal. That's why some beaches have tiny tides, while others, like the Bay of Fundy, have waves as tall as buildings. The shape of the land decides how high the tide can rise. Narrow bays and inlets act like funnels. When the tide comes in, all that water gets squeezed into a tight space, forcing it to rise higher and higher. Now that we know how land changes tides, let's see how different coastlines create even more surprising effects. Some places barely notice tides, while others have record-breaking waves. Not all coastlines are the same. Some are wide and open, while others are narrow and shaped like a funnel. The shape of the land changes how high or low the tide can rise. On wide, open beaches, the tide has plenty of space to spread out. This means the water level changes very little, and the difference between high and low tide is small. But in a narrow bay, the water gets trapped. When the tide comes in, it has nowhere to go except up, making the tide rise much higher than on an open beach. The most extreme tides in the world happen in Canada's Bay of Fundy. Here, the coastline acts like a giant funnel, forcing the water up as much as 21 meters, taller than a 5-story building. At low tide, the water in the Bay of Fundy almost disappears, revealing the ocean floor. But just a few hours later, the tide rushes back in, covering everything again. So, the shape of the coastline plays a huge role in how tides behave. But there's more! Ocean currents, wind, and even the shape of the ocean floor can change the tides too. Let's take a look. The moon's gravity is the biggest reason for tides, but it's not the only thing that affects them. Other forces, like ocean currents, wind, and even the shape of the seafloor also play a role. Ocean currents are like giant rivers in the sea. They push water around the planet, sometimes making tides higher or lower in certain places. Strong winds can also push the ocean's surface, making tides even more extreme. During storms, the wind can force the water higher onto land, causing big tidal surges. Did you know the ocean isn't flat underneath? The seafloor has mountains, valleys, and trenches that change how water moves. This can make tides much stronger in some areas. Some bays and coastlines have a special effect called tidal resonance. This happens when incoming tides match the bay's natural rhythm, making the waves even bigger. So tides aren't just about the moon. Wind, currents, the ocean floor, and even a bay's natural rhythm all help shape the tides we see. But how does this look in real life? Let's compare two very different places. Not all places have the same tides. Let's compare two very different locations, the Mediterranean Sea and the Bay of Fundy in Canada. The Mediterranean Sea is almost completely surrounded by land. This makes it hard for water to move in and out, so the tides stay small, only about 30 to 50 centimeters. Meanwhile, the Bay of Fundy is shaped like a funnel, and its tides match the bay's natural rhythm. This creates some of the highest tides in the world, up to 21 meters. At low tide, the water in the Bay of Fundy almost disappears, revealing the muddy ocean floor. But just hours later, the tide rushes back in, covering everything again. So why are tides so different? It all depends on the coastline, the shape of the ocean floor, and how much water can flow in and out. Tides don't just affect the ocean, they affect people and animals too. Let's explore how tides shape life along the coast. Tides don't just shape the ocean, they shape people's lives. For centuries, coastal communities have relied on tides for fishing, travel, and even building homes. Many fishermen time their work with the tides. At low tide, they can walk far out on the shore to gather shellfish. At high tide, they set out in boats to catch fish. Animals depend on the tides too. Crabs, clams, and tiny fish move with the water, while seabirds wait for the perfect moment to catch their next meal. When the tide goes out, small pools of water are left behind. These tidal pools are home to colorful starfish, sea anemones, and tiny creatures waiting for the water to return. Even surfers pay attention to the tides. Some of the best waves happen when the tide is just right, making the ocean perfect for riding waves. Tides connect all life along the coast, people, animals, and even waves. But did you know tides also have a deeper connection to us? Let's explore how tides are like the rhythm of life. Tides move in a steady rhythm, rising and falling again and again. Just like the ocean, our lives have ups and downs too. The moon's gentle pull keeps the tides moving. Even though we can't feel it, this invisible force shapes the ocean's waves, just like unseen forces shape our lives. Sometimes tides bring big waves, just like life brings challenges. But just as the tide always flows back, we find ways to move forward too. High tide, low tide. Everything changes, just like our own journey. The important thing is to keep moving, just like the ocean. No matter what happens, the tides keep flowing, reminding us that everything is connected. The ocean, the moon, and even us. So next time you watch the waves, remember, the tides are part of a timeless dance, just like us. The ocean never stops moving, and neither do the tides. Every wave, every ripple is part of something bigger. A child stands at the water's edge, feeling the tide touch their feet, amazed by the pull of the moon far above. So next time you see the tide rise and fall, remember, you're watching a dance that connects the earth, the moon, and you.